All right, welcome back to the channel. Today we will be listening to the testimony of Arthur Rostron, the captain of the Carpathia, who came to the aid of the Titanic. Let's listen in.
Please give your full name and address.
Arthur Henry Rostron, Woodville, Victoria Road, Crosby, Liverpool.
What is your business, Captain?
Seaman.
How long have you been engaged in this business?
27 years.
What positions have you filled?
Every rank in the merchant service up to captain.
In what companies or on what lines?
First of all, I was 2 years as a cadet on the training ship Conway in the Mersey, Liverpool, after which I went under sail as an apprentice with Williams Milligan ships. I was an apprentice for 3 years, after which I was second mate, after passing my examinations. Then, after getting my mate's certificate, I went as mate on another sailing ship. Then I passed for extra master and joined the Cunard Steamship Corps in 1895.
You are now captain of the Carpathia?
I'm now captain of the Carpathia, Cunard Line.
How long have you been captain of the Carpathia?
My appointment on the Carpathia dates from the 18th of January.
Of this year?
Of this year, yes, sir.
Were you captain of any other vessel?
The whole of last year, from the 1st of January of last year, I was captain of the Pannonia.
Of the same line?
Of the same line. Previous to that, I was captain of several other smaller cargo boats running between Liverpool and the Mediterranean.
What day did you sail with the Carpathia from New York last?
The 11th of April.
And where were you headed?
We were bound for Liverpool, Genoa, Naples, Trieste, and Theme.
How many passengers did you have on board the Carpathia when you sailed from New York?
That I am not prepared to answer, sir. I cannot give you the exact number.
About how many?
150 first, 52nd, and about 560 or 575 third. That is approximately.
Your first stop would have been Gibraltar?
Gibraltar, yes, sir.
What time in the day did you leave New York?
At noon on Thursday.
I wish you would tell the committee what occurred after that day, as nearly as you can, up to the present time.
We backed up from the dock at noon on Thursday. We proceeded down the river, the weather being fine and clear, and we left the pilot at the pilot boat and passed the Ambrose Channel lightship about 2 o'clock p.m. I cannot give you the exact time now, because, as a matter of fact, I have not looked at a single date or time of any kind. I have not had the time to do so.
I mean approximately?
From that up to Sunday midnight we had fine, clear weather, and everything was going on without any trouble of any kind. At 12:35 a.m. on Monday I was informed of the urgent distress signal from the Titanic.
By whom?
By a wireless operator, and also by the first officer. The wireless operator had taken the message and run with it up to the bridge, and gave it to the first officer who was in charge, with a junior officer with him, and both ran down the ladder to my door and called me. I had only just turned in. It was an urgent distress signal from the Titanic, requiring immediate assistance and giving me his position. The position of the Titanic at the time was 41 degrees, 46 minutes north, 50 degrees, 14 minutes west. I cannot give you our correct position, but we were then.
Did you give the hour?
Yes, 12:35, that was our apparent time. I can give you the New York time, if you would rather have it.
Yes, please do so.
The New York time at 12:35 was 10:45 p.m., Sunday night. Immediately on getting the message, I gave the order to turn the ship around, and immediately I had given that order I asked the operator if he was absolutely sure it was a distress signal from the Titanic. I asked him twice.
Just what was that signal?
I did not ask him. He simply told me that he had received a distress signal from the Titanic, requiring immediate assistance, and gave me his position, and he assured me he was absolutely certain of the message. In the meantime I was dressing, and I picked up our position on my chart, and set a course to pick up the Titanic. The course was north 52 degrees west true 58 miles from my position. I then sent for the chief engineer. In the meantime I was dressing and seeing the ship put on her course. The chief engineer came up. I told him to call another watch of stokers and make all possible speed to the Titanic, as she was in trouble. He ran down immediately and told me my orders would be carried out at once. After that I gave the first officer, who was in charge of the bridge, orders to knock off all work which the men were doing on deck, the watch on deck, and prepare all our lifeboats, take out the spare gear, and have them all ready for turning outboard. Immediately I had done that I sent for the heads of the different departments, the English doctor, the purser, and the chief steward, and they came to my cabin, and then I issued my orders. I do not know whether you care to hear what my orders were exactly.
Yes, sir, we would like to hear them.
As a matter of fact, I have them all written down here. We carry an English doctor, an Italian doctor, and a Hungarian doctor. My orders were these: English doctor, with assistants, to remain in first-class dining room. Italian doctor, with assistants, to remain in second-class dining room. Hungarian doctor, with assistants, to remain in third-class dining room. each doctor to have supplies of restoratives, stimulants, and everything to hand for immediate needs of probable wounded or sick. Purser, with assistant purser and chief steward, to receive the passengers, and so forth, at different gangways, controlling our own stewards in assisting Titanic passengers to the dining rooms, and so forth. Also to get Christian and surnames of all survivors as soon as possible to send by wireless. Inspector, steerage stewards, and master-at-arms to control our own steerage passengers and keep them out of the third-class dining hall, and also to keep them out of the way and off the deck to prevent confusion. Chief steward that all hands would be called and to have coffee, and so forth, ready to serve out to all our crew. Have coffee, tea, soup, and so forth, in each saloon. Blankets in saloons, at the gangways, and some for the boats. The sea all rescued, cared for, and immediate wants attended to. My cabin and all officials' cabins to be given up. Smoke rooms, library, and so forth. Dining rooms would be utilised to accommodate the survivors. All spare berths and steerage to be utilised for Titanic's passengers, and get all our own steerage passengers grouped together. Stewards to be placed in each alleyway to reassure our own passengers, should they inquire about noise and getting our boats out, and so forth. Or the working of engines. To all I strictly enjoined the necessity for order, discipline and quietness, and to avoid all confusion. Chief and first officers, all the hands to be called, get coffee, and so forth, prepare and swing out all boats. All gangway doors to be opened. Electric sprays in each gangway and overside. A block with line rope hooked in each gangway. A chair sling at each gangway for getting up sick or wounded. Boat twins chairs. Pilot ladders and canvas ash bags to be at each gangway. The canvas ash bags for children. I may state the canvas ash bags were of great assistance in getting the infants and children aboard. Cargo falls with both ends clear, bowlines in the ends, and bites secured along ship's sides, for boat ropes or to help the people up. Heating lines distributed along the ship's side, and gaskets handy near gangways for lashing people in chairs, and so forth forward derricks. Topped and rigged, and steam on winches also told off officers for different stations and for certain eventualities. Ordered company's rockets to be fired at 2:45 am and every quarter of an hour after to reassure Titanic. This is a copy of what I'm sending to our own company.
We would like to have you leave a copy of that with the committee, if you can.
Yes, sir, I shall do it with pleasure. One more thing. As each official saw everything in readiness, he reported to me personally on the bridge that all my orders were carried out, enumerating the same, and that everything was in readiness. This was at 3:45. That was a quarter of an hour before we got up to the scene of the disaster. The details of all this work are left to the several officials, and I'm glad to say that they were most efficiently carried out.
I should judge from what you say that you made 19¼ knots from the time you got the signal of distress from the Titanic, until you reached the scene of the wreck or loss.
No, it was 58 miles, and it took us 3½ hours.
From 12:35 to 3:45.
No, 3:45 is when they reported to me. I have not got to the time of arrival at the scene of action yet. I stopped my engines at 4 o'clock, and I was then close to the first boat.
Just proceed in your own way.
After interviewing the heads of the departments, I went on the bridge and remained there. While I was up there, made inquiries, making sure that my orders were all being carried out, and that everything possible was being done. At 2:40, I saw a flare, about half a point on the port bow, and immediately took it for granted that it was the Titanic itself, and I remarked that she must be still afloat, as I knew we were a long way off, and it seemed so high. However, soon after seeing the flare, I made out an iceberg about a point on the port bow, to which I had to port to keep well clear of. Knowing that they had struck ice, of course I had to take extra care and every precaution to keep clear of anything that might look like ice. Between 2:45 and 4 o'clock, the time I stopped my engines, we were passing icebergs on every side and making them ahead and having to alter our course several times to clear the boats. At 4 o'clock I stopped. At 4:10 I got the first boat alongside. Previous to getting the first boat alongside, however, I saw an iceberg close to me, right ahead, and I had to starboard to get out of the way, and I picked him up on the weather side of the ship. I had to clear this ice. I'm on the scene of action now. This is 4:10 with the first boat alongside.
You are picking up these people now?
Thus,
Please describe that in your own way.
we picked up the first boat, and the boat was in charge of an officer. I saw that he was not under full control of this boat, and the officer sung out to me that he only had one seaman in the boat, so I had to maneuver the ship to get as close to the boat as possible, as I knew well it would be difficult to do the pulling. However, they got alongside, and they got them up all right. By the time we had the first boat's people, it was breaking day, and then I could see the remaining boats all around within an area of about 4 miles. I also saw icebergs all around me. There were about 20 icebergs that would be anywhere from about 150 to 200 feet high, and numerous smaller bergs. Also numerous what we call growlers. You would not call them bergs. They were anywhere from 10 to 12 feet high, and 10 to 15 feet long above the water. I maneuvered the ship, and we gradually got all the boats together. We got all the boats alongside and all the people up aboard by 8:30. I was then very close to where the Titanic must have gone down, as there was a lot of hardly wreckage, but small pieces of broken up stuff, nothing in the way of anything large. At 8 o'clock the Leyland Line steamer Californian hove up, and we exchanged messages. I gave them the notes by semaphore about the Titanic going down, and that I had got all the passengers from the boats, but we were then not quite sure whether we could account for all the boats. I told them think one boat still unaccounted for. He then asked me if he should search around, and I said, yes please. It was then 10:50. I want to go back again a little bit. At 8:30 all the people were on board. I asked for the purser, and told him that I wanted to hold a service, a short prayer of thankfulness for those rescued and a short burial service for those who were lost. I consulted with Mr. Ismay. I ran down for a moment and told them that I wished to do this, and Mr. Ismay left everything in my hands. I then got an Episcopal clergyman, one of our passengers, and asked him if he would do this for me, which he did, willingly. While they were holding the service, I was on the bridge, of course, and I maneuvered around the scene of the wreckage. We saw nothing except one body.
Floating?
Floating, sir.
With a life preserver on?
With a life preserver on. That is the only body I saw.
Was it male or female?
Male. It appeared to me to be one of the crew. He was only about 100 yards from the ship. We could see him quite distinctly, and saw that he was absolutely dead. He was lying on his side like this, indicating and his head was awash. Of course he could not possibly have been alive and remain in that position. I did not take him aboard, for one reason. The Titanic's passengers then were knocking about the deck, and I did not want to cause any unnecessary excitement or any more hysteria among them, so I steamed past trying to get them not to see it. From the boats we took 3 dead men who had died of exposure.
From the lifeboats?
From the lifeboats, yes, sir.
Do you know from which boats they were taken?
No, sir, I'm only giving you the general news now. We took 3 dead men from the boats, and they were brought on board. Another man was brought up, I think he was one of the crew, who died that morning about 10 o'clock, I think, and he, with the other 3, were buried at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
At sea?
At sea.
Did they have anything on their persons by which they could be identified?
One of my own officers and the Titanic's officers identified the bodies, as far as possible, and took everything from them that could be of the slightest clue or use. Nothing was left but their clothes. There was very little taken, of course, but, as regards details, I cannot give you much. I have been too busy.
You have not the names of these men?
We have the names.
You have not them here with you?
I have not got them with me, no, sir.
Were they men or women?
Well, there were several ladies in the boats. They were slightly injured about the arms and things of that kind, of course, although I must say, from the very start, all these people behaved magnificently. As each boat came alongside, everyone was calm, and they kept perfectly still in their boats. They were quiet and orderly, and each person came up the ladder, or was pulled up, in turn as they were told off. There was no confusion whatever among the passengers. They behaved magnificently, every one of them. As they came aboard, they were, of course, attended to. My instructions had already been given to that effect.
Captain, how many lifeboats were there?
We had 15 lifeboats alongside with passengers in them.
Of both types?
Wait a moment, please. There were 15 lifeboats alongside. We accounted for those with passengers in them. There was one lifeboat that we saw that was close to the ship, but it had been abandoned because it had got damaged and was in a sinking condition. The officer had taken all the people out of that lifeboat and left it absolutely vacant. There was no one in it. It was empty.
What type of boat was it?
That was a lifeboat. It had been damaged. We had 2 Berthon boats.
Collapsible boats?
Hardly collapsible. It is a flat raft boat with collapsible canvas size, about 2 feet deep.
To hold how many people?
One of those boats would hold 60 to 75 comfortably.
How many of those were there?
We counted for 2. One of these Berthon boats capsized. That was 3.
As these boats were emptied, and the occupants taken aboard the Carpathia, what was done with the boats?
The boats were kept alongside.
Just in what shape were they left afloat, or were they in some way taken on the decks?
Yes, sir, I'm going to tell you that now. As the people came out, we left the boats alongside. Of course lots of gear had been knocked out of the boats and thrown out of the way of the people as they were getting up, so while they were holding this service and while I was cruising around, I had all of my boats swung out, ready for lowering over. And while they were getting all the people aboard from the boats, I got the spare men and some of my officers and swung my boats inboard again, and landed them on their blocks and secured them and swung the davits out again, disconnected the falls again, and got up the Titanic's boats. While I was cruising around, I was also getting these boats up. I got 7 of the Titanic's boats up on our davits, and 6 up on the forecastle head with the forward derricks, so that is 13 boats in all.
What did you do with these boats?
We pulled them up the davits.
Did you bring them into port?
Yes, and last night, previous to coming into the dock, we got some tenders off and lowered all the boats in the water, and these tenders took them away. Where they took them I do not know, but we had these boats still left on the forecastle head, and they would have been put into the dock during the day.
Have you examined those boats personally?
I've only been in 1 or 2 of them, looked at them.
Can you tell from what you saw of them whether they were marked Titanic?
They were all marked Titanic, as they came up.
Were they apparently new boats?
They were all brand new.
They were all brand new?
Yes, as far as I could see. They appeared to me to be absolutely new boats.
All conforming to the regulations of the British Board of Trade?
Absolutely.
And as good as you would have had if you were to specify them yourself?
Quite.
Did you see any bodies afloat except as you have described?
Only one, no more, no others.
Did you have any information as to whether the passengers or crew of the Titanic had made use of their life preservers?
I had very little opportunity of being amongst the passengers or any of them. To tell you the truth, I have been on the bridge, or about my duties most of the time. I had, however, 1 or 2 conversations with the passengers on Tuesday afternoon. That was the only time I had anything to do with the people, as I heard then that all the people on the Titanic, as far as they could see, had lifeboats on. They had all been supplied with lifeboats.
I assume that you kept watch to see whether there was any of these people afloat.
Precisely. I was cruising all around the vicinity of the disaster.
How long did you cruise around there?
In the actual vicinity of the disaster?
Yes.
Half an hour.
During that time, was there a swirl or any unnatural condition of the sea?
Nothing whatever. The wind and sea were then beginning to get up. There was a moderate breeze blowing then, and a little slop of the sea.
Have you any idea how much depth of water there was about that point?
Yes, about 2,000 and odd fathoms.
2,000 and odd fathoms?
Yes, I looked on the chart.
Have you concluded that you did not see the ill-fated ship at all?
Oh, no, we arrived an hour and a half after she went down after the last of her was seen.
What was the last message you had from the ship?
Engine room nearly full.
Engine room nearly full?
Yes.
At what hour was that?
That would have been about 1 o'clock. That would be 25 minutes after.
Was that all?
That was the last message we got. It was either engine room nearly full, or engine room full, or engine room filling. The exact words I could not give you. The impression was quite enough for me, as to the condition the ship was in.
And you then told them how near you were?
Thus, from the very first I sent a message to the Titanic telling them, coming immediately to your assistance. Expect to arrive 4:30. No, it was, expect to arrive in 4 hours, because I had not then got up full speed.
Did you personally know the captain of the Titanic?
I knew him, yes.
How long had you known him?
I had met him 15 years ago. I have only met him about 3 times altogether.
In your company, who is the master of a ship at sea?
The captain.
In absolute control?
In absolute control, legal and otherwise. No one can interfere.
I suppose if this had not been so, you would not have felt it proper to have gone off your course quite so far?
Quite so.
Are there prescribed routes at sea that are so definite in their character as to be well understood by mariners?
They are. I may state this, that the position given me by the Titanic was absolutely correct, and she was absolutely on her track, bound for New York.
What would you call that course, Captain, that the Titanic was taking for New York, as to whether it would be northerly or southerly?
Oh, she was then, I forget the true course now, but she had passed what we call the corner on the Great Circle. It is some years since I was in the North Atlantic trade. I have been in the Mediterranean trade, and I have forgotten.
He is not speaking of your compass course.
I am giving the true course.
He is asking whether the Titanic was on the northerly course or the southerly route.
Oh, he was on the southerly route.
What do you mean by that?
He makes a great circle on the most southerly route, to avoid all ice, as nearly as possible. That is 42 north and 47 west. That is what we call the first corner. That is the great circle track from Queensland down to the corner. From there he takes a straight course, I forget now the actual course.
Do you regard the route he was taking as entirely practical and appropriate at this time of the year?
Quite so. This is most exceptional.
Having the warning that icebergs were in that vicinity, could he, under those circumstances, have changed his course somewhat to avoid them?
That is impossible for me to tell. All I know is that he was on the track of the western bound steamers, on his proper track, where he ought to have been.
At this time of year?
At this time of year.
Is not that the shortest route from Liverpool to New York?
No, it is the longest.
The longest?
Yes, sir.
What would have been the shortest?
The shortest route is after August, if I remember right, from September to January. From September to January, I think, is the shortest route.
But what would that be?
Oh, well up north.
How far north?
It would be probably a couple of 100 miles north.
Would you regard the course taken by the Titanic in this trial trip as appropriate and safe and wise at this time of the year?
Quite so.
What would be a safe, reasonable speed for a vessel of that size on such a course and in proximity of icebergs?
Of course I do not know the ship. I know absolutely nothing about her.
How would you have felt yourself about it? Suppose you had been taking that course with your ship. How fast would you have felt it prudent to go in such a situation?
I can only tell you this, gentlemen, I knew there was ice about.
How did you know it?
From the Titanic.
From the Titanic's message?
Precisely. He told me he had struck ice.
Did you know it any other way?
No, sir, that was the first intimation I had that there was ice there.
You did not know it until you saw it yourself?
I knew the Titanic had struck ice. Therefore, I was prepared to be in the vicinity of ice when I was getting near him, because if he had struck a berg, and I was going to his position, I knew very well that there must be ice about. I went full speed, all we could.
You went full speed?
I did, and doubled my lookouts, and took extra precautions and exerted extra vigilance. Every possible care was taken. We were all on the qui-vive.
You had a smaller ship, however, and it would respond more readily to a signal?
No.
Would it not?
No, sir, it would not. I did not maintain that, for one moment.
How many men were on the bridge on the lookout, so to speak, in that situation on your ship?
There were 3 officers, with me a quartermaster, 1 man in the crow's nest, and 2 men in the eyes of the ship, that is, right forward on the deck, nearer to the water than the crow's nest.
Was that the ordinary complement, or did you put them there because of that danger?
I put an extra lookout on forward.
An extra lookout?
Yes, and the officer came up extra with me. I had another officer up with me extra. He came up voluntarily.
What would be the ordinary complement?
The ordinary complement of a night lookout, 2 men. We keep 1 in the crow's nest and 1 in the eyes, that is, right forward.
Was there any special suffering of the Titanic's passengers after they got aboard the Carpathia?
I never heard of anything special. I cannot give you any medical reports, as I have not received them yet. All I know is that the second day, Tuesday morning, the doctor came to me and said he was pleased to say that there was an entirely clean bill of health.
No damage, so far as you know, was done by one to the other, and there was no trouble or difficulty.
No, none whatever. I never heard of anything of the kind, never.
How many lifeboats do you carry on the Carpathia?
We carry 20.
What is their capacity?
I'm not prepared to say at the present moment. I cannot say, I really forget.
Do you carry 20 in obedience to certain regulations of the British Board of Trade?
I think it is 20, yes.
What is your gross tonnage?
13,600 tons.
That is the total capacity of your ship, the tonnage?
13,600.
What is it as to passengers?
I cannot tell you. I have not come here with any data. I have not looked up anything, and was absolutely unprepared for any questions. I have been too busy.
What did you say was the tonnage of your ship?
13,600 tons.
What was the tonnage of the Titanic?
It was 45,629 tons.
Are these regulations of the British Board of Trade new regulations or old regulations?
They are of recent date.
The fact that, under these regulations, you are obliged to carry 20 lifeboats, and the Titanic was only obliged to carry 20, with her additional tonnage, indicates either that these regulations were prescribed long ago.
No, sir, it has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with is the ship itself. The ships are built nowadays to be practically unsinkable, and each ship is supposed to be a lifeboat in itself. The boats are merely supposed to be put on as a standby. The ships are supposed to be built, and the naval architects say they are unsinkable under certain conditions. What the exact conditions are, I do not know, as to whether it is with alternate compartments full, or what it may be. That is why in our ship we carry more lifeboats, for the simple reason that we are built differently from the Titanic, differently constructed.
Approximately how many passengers are provided for on the Carpathia? I do not ask you to be accurate about it, but approximately how many?
How many did we approximately provide for on the voyage from New York?
What is your British allowance?
2,203rd, and about 251st and 2nd combined.
That makes 2,450. Give us your crew complement.
That, of course, varies. We have about 300 aboard now.
How many officers?
6 officers.
You say the captain of a ship is vested ordinarily with absolute control and discretion over the movements of his vessel?
Absolutely. I wish to qualify that, however. By law, the captain of the vessel has absolute control. But suppose we get orders from the owners of the vessel to do a certain thing, and we do not carry it out. The only thing is then that we are liable to dismissal. I shall give you an illustration of what I mean by that, as regards receiving orders, and so on. When I turned back to New York, I sent my message to the Cunard Corps, telling them that I was proceeding to New York unless otherwise ordered. You see what I mean there? I said, for many considerations, consider New York most advisable.
And you immediately reversed your course?
I came right around for New York immediately, and returned to New York. Would you like to know my reasons for coming back to New York?
Yes.
The first and principal reason was that we had all these women aboard, and I knew they were hysterical and in a bad state. I knew very well, also, that you would want all the news possible. I knew very well, further, that if I went to Halifax, we could get them there all right. But I did not know how many of these people were half dead, how many were injured, or how many were really sick, or anything like that. I knew, also, that if we went to Halifax, we would have the possibility of coming across more ice, and I knew very well what the effect of that would be on people who had had the experience these people had had. I knew what that would be the whole time we were in the vicinity of ice. I took that into consideration. I knew very well that if we went to Halifax it would be a case of railway journey for these passengers, as I knew they would have to go to New York, and there would be all the miseries of that. Furthermore, I did not know what the condition of the weather might be, or what accommodation I could give them in Halifax, and that was a great consideration, one of the greatest considerations that made me turn back.
And the chances for fine whether we're better coming to New York than going to Halifax.
Yes, sir.
Your message to your company was practically notice that you had done this?
I had done it, but the message did not get off until Monday evening.
You were then.
When I sent that message, we had been on our way 12 hours.
Captain, is it customary to take orders from a director or a general officer of the company aboard?
No, sir.
From whom do you take orders?
From no one.
Aboard ship.
At sea, immediately I leave port until I arrive at port. The captain is in absolute control and takes orders from no one. I have never known it in our company or any other big company when a director or managing owner would issue orders on the ship. It matters not who comes on board the ship, they are either passengers or crew. There is no official status and no authority whatever with them.
You say, Captain, that you ran under a full head of steam?
Yes.
Toward the Titanic?
Yes, sir.
Would you have done so in the night time?
It was in the night time. I can confess this much, that if I had known at the time there was so much ice about, I should not, but I was right in it then. I could see the ice. I knew I was perfectly clear. There's one other consideration. Although I was running a risk with my own ship and my own passengers, I also had to consider what I was going for.
To save the lives of others?
Yes, I had to consider the lives of others.
You were prompted by your interest in humanity.
Absolutely.
And you took the chance?
It was hardly a chance. Of course it was a chance, but at the same time I knew quite what I was doing. I considered that I was perfectly free, and that I was doing perfectly right in what I did.
I suppose no criticism has been passed upon you for it?
No.
In fact, I think I may say, for my associates, that your conduct deserves the highest praise.
I thank you, sir.
And we are very grateful to you, Captain, for coming here. I understand it is your purpose to leave this afternoon?
Yes, I think we sail at 4 o'clock.
If we should desire to get into communication again, what are your plans for the future? Are you headed for the south of Europe?
We go to Gibraltar. I'm just going by the same old route as before: Gibraltar, Genoa, Naples, Trieste, Theme.
50 days back to New York.
A little less than that, about 43 days back. We sail about every 7 weeks.
Did I ask you about the number of passengers that died aboard ship on your way to New York?
No, sir. None died on the ship so far as I am aware. We took 3 bodies from the boats, already dead, and the fourth man who died on board from exposure, who was taken on board from the lifeboat, was a seaman. I am almost sure of my statement that he was a seaman.
In the first lifeboat, you say there was only one man?
No, only one seaman. I think there were 2 more men. To tell the truth, I'm not quite sure how many men there were.
Were there any officers?
1 officer.
1 officer and 1 seaman?
And 1 seaman, yes.
How many men?
I cannot tell you. I cannot give you the number of any men or seamen in any of the boats, even approximately, now.
These lifeboats, of course, were being propelled by oars?
Yes, sir.
Were there any women using these oars?
There were.
In how many boats?
I saw women, I think, in at least 2 boats rowing.
How many women using the oars?
In one I saw 2. It is very hard to give the exact number, because 1 or 2 of the boats were rather crowded, especially one boat that had got damaged and was foundering. That boat was very crowded. I could not say how many women were pulling. I saw certainly 2 or 3 women pulling at the oars. I know, as a matter of fact, in one boat there were 2 or 3 women pulling.
In what boat did Mr. Ismay come?
I have not the faintest idea. The first I knew that Mr. Ismay was aboard was when we got the last boat alongside, and we were getting the last passengers aboard.
You do not remember the number of seamen in that boat?
I have not the faintest idea.
Do you remember the number of men in the other boats?
I can give you no details of the seamen or anything else. Remember one thing: unless the sailors were dressed in some distinctive uniform, I could not tell the seamen, firemen, stewards, or passengers.
When your ship arrived in New York, were any of the passengers dangerously ill?
Not to my knowledge.
How many died after you rescued them?
None. No passengers died. Only the 1 seaman.
Do you know who took the lifeboats from the Carpathia?
No.
It was probably done by the owners?
No. I had previously sent a wireless to the White Star Line asking them to send a couple of tugboats down to quarantine to take these boats away, as I would not be able to come into dock with those boats up in the davits or on the forecastle head. There were none there, and so I was worrying about these. It was a dirty night, coming up the river last night, and I was worrying about what I was going to do with the boats. I had the boats lowered halfway to the water, to avoid any waste of time. When we got right off the dock, I asked them to send some tugboats out to take the boats away, as I could not dock until they were gotten out of the way. After that I do not know anything about them.
Some complaint has been made because the message of the President of the United States, which was sent to Carpathia, was not answered. Do you know anything about that?
I heard last night that there was a message about a Major Butt. I asked my purser this morning if he remembers any message asking if Major Butt was on board, and it was answered not on board. That is the only thing I know about that message of that name. I do not remember anything else.
Was there any attempt to communicate with the Carpathia from any government vessel?
Yes, from the Chester. I got a message from the Chester. The exact words of it I quite forget now, but there was something in it about the President, something, as far as I remember, about his being anxious about the passengers. If I remember right, I was rather worried at the time, as it was foggy, and these messages came up to me on the bridge. I had my hands full. He gave me his position and told me he was coming to take the names of the passengers and wanted my position. I answered him with my position and asked him if he could take the passengers' names. I told him the names of the first and second cabin passengers and crew had already gone. I said, "Can you take third-class names now?" I got a reply back, yes, yes.
From the Chester?
From the Chester. Those are the two messages I got from the Chester.
Was there any attempt made by anyone to influence you in sending or receiving wireless messages?
From the very commencement I took charge of the whole thing and issued orders that every message sent would be sent under my authority, and no message was to be sent unless authorized by me. My orders were first of all the two official messages. The two official messages were to the Cunard Co. and the White Star Co. as regards the accident, telling them that I had got an approximate number of passengers aboard and was returning to New York. That was to the White Star Co. and the other one was to our company, of course. Telling them that I was proceeding to New York unless otherwise ordered, and considered New York the best, for many considerations. After those two messages were sent, I sent a press message to the Associated Press, practically in the same words as I had sent to the companies, over my signature. Those were the three first messages that were sent. After these messages were sent, we began sending in the names of the first-class passengers. This was by the Olympic on Monday evening. We got the first, and I think all the second off by the Olympic. Then we lost touch.
You lost touch?
We lost touch, yes.
When was that?
The hour I could not tell you. It was Tuesday morning, sometime very early in the morning, between 1 and 2, I think.
How many operators did you have on the Carpathia?
1.
Was he in constant service from the time you received this first message from the Titanic?
He was constantly at his instrument, the whole time.
How old a man was he?
He's a young man. I should think he is about 25 years old.
Under whose employ?
The Marconi Co.
What is his name?
I cannot tell you. I do not know his name.
Did you know of your own knowledge of the attempt of the President of the United States to communicate directly with your ship?
Absolutely not, nothing whatever of that.
I guess that there was no intention whatever of either ignoring his message.
My word, I hope not, sir.
Or neglecting it.
Absolutely no intention of any such thing, sir. It never entered the minds of anyone.
And no one attempted in any way to put a censorship over the wireless service on your ship?
Absolutely no censorship whatever. I controlled the whole thing, through my orders. I said I placed official messages first, after they had gone, and the first press message, then the names of the passengers. After the names of the passengers and crew had been sent, my orders were to send all private messages from the Titanic's passengers first in the order in which they were given into the person, no preference to any message.
You picked up a message from the Californian, did you not?
No, we did not pick up a message. Wait a minute. We knew the Californian was about, because the operator had told me he had heard the Californian reply to the signals. That is all. At 8 o'clock in the morning he hove in sight. This was at the wreck, and I left him when I returned to New York at 8:50, I think it was, when I put on full speed to come back. He was searching the vicinity of the wreckage, and I left for New York. The next day I got a message from the Californian saying, "Have searched position carefully up to noon and found nothing and seen no bodies."
Did your wireless work right up to the time you intended to use it last?
I do not follow your question, sir.
Did your wireless fail you at all?
Never. The only thing is that we were not fitted up with a long-distance installation. It is only a short-distance outfit, for what we call ship messages, and close to land stations.
How far can you communicate?
Under good conditions, 200 miles. We only reckon, under ordinary conditions, on 150 miles. Fog, mist, haze, snow, or any other unfavorable weather conditions make it so that we may not get more than 90 to 100 miles.
It was rather accidental, then, that you happened to be within the radius of your instrument when you got the Titanic?
Yes, we were only 58 miles away from them.
It was providential.
The whole thing was absolutely providential. I will tell you this, that the wireless operator was in his cabin at the time, not on official business at all, but just simply listening as he was undressing. He was unlacing his boots at the time. He had this apparatus on his ear, and the message came. That was the whole thing. In 10 minutes, maybe he would have been in bed, and we would not have heard the messages.
It was a very remarkable coincidence.
It was very remarkable, and, as I say, the whole thing was providential, as regards our being able to get there.
You could receive from a long distance, but you could not send a response.
We can always take from a long distance, yes.
You have a low-powered machine?
Bass.
From what you have heard from the passengers or crew of the Titanic, do you know whether any of them saw the Titanic sink finally?
Yes, several of the passengers to whom I have spoken saw the ship sink.
Do you remember who they were?
I think Mrs. Thayer was one.
Mrs. J. B. Thayer?
Yes, and her son Jack and Mrs. Wagner.
And Colonel Gracie?
I do not remember. I do not know the names of any of the people who were saved. I never came across them.
You never talked with them?
I had no opportunity to do so.
You were kept very busy?
Yes.
Captain, how many more lifeboats could you accommodate on the Carpathia than you have now?
Under the present conditions, and of course if they were ordinary lifeboats, I do not believe we could take more than 6 at the very outside. Of course, that is absolutely lumbering the deck up as it is.
It would be lumbering the deck up, and you would only have space for 26 in all.
Yes.
And that would lumber up the deck to some extent.
Thus, not the passenger decks. It has nothing to do with the passenger decks. It would be the deck space that is not utilized by the passengers that would be lumbered up, not the promenade decks.
I see. Would that additional number work much additional inconvenience upon the deck?
No, I do not think so.
Take the case of the Titanic, whose tonnage was more than 3 times as great as that of the Carpathia, which had, I believe, the same number of lifeboats as the Carpathia?
Yes, sir.
How many additional lifeboats could that vessel accommodate without inconvenience?
I have not the faintest idea, sir, what the Titanic was like. I believe she is a sister ship of the Olympic. I have seen the Olympic once, when she was at the end of our dock. I have no idea of her construction. That is all I have seen of her.
You think she could accommodate considerably more, do you not?
If she could not accommodate them, she could be made to accommodate them. If they build the ship knowing that she is only to carry 6 in lifeboats, they will utilize the space otherwise.
How do you account for the fact that the Board of Trade of England, as the size of these ships has increased, has not compelled an increase in the number of lifeboats? Your maximum, as I understand, is 20 boats, is it not?
Yes, I believe it is, but they have compelled a different construction of the ship itself. That is where the thing has come in.
You regard each ship itself as a lifeboat?
Yes, sir.
That expectation was not realized in the case of this ship.
It has been an abnormal experience as regards the Titanic.
Have you any kind of knowledge at all regarding the force of the impact which wrecked the Titanic?
I know nothing about it, sir. I have not asked any questions about this kind of business. I knew it was not my fare, and I had little desire to make any of the officers feel it any more than they did. Mind you, sir, there's only this, I know nothing, but I have heard rumours of different passengers. Some will say one thing and some another. I would therefore rather say nothing. I do not know anything. From the officers I know nothing. I could give you silly rumours of passengers, but I know they are not reliable, from my own experience, so, if you will excuse me, I would prefer to say nothing.
I think that is all, Captain, and I want to thank you for your courtesy in appearing before the committee and giving us the information at your disposal.
As to the equipment of these lifeboats, what are the requirements as to food and compass and so on?
They are all supplied with compass, and with water breakers and with bread tanks,
And with mast and sail?
and with mast and sail,
And gear?
and all the necessary gear.
Do you know whether those conditions were complied with reference to these boats on the Titanic?
As far as I can see, yes. I can tell you this, that I saw myself both water and biscuits in the boats. Not all, of course, but 1 or 2 where the men were working about when we secured them. We put them on board our ship, and we had to secure them, and under certain circumstances, we had to come up against the boat and look into them. And there were 2 or 3 boats where I did see both water and bread in the boats, and all of the boats had the bread tanks. That I know for certain, and they also had water breakers.
We are very much obliged to you, Captain Rostron.
You are quite welcome, sir. If there is anything further I can do, I shall be very glad.
Well, that was an interesting testimony. I have to say that I'm very impressed with how prepared he was and how prepared he got his ship for the scene that he was coming upon and the danger he put his ship through to get there. Way to go, absolute legend, Arthur. So if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. And next video we will be watching is Giglio Marconi, the owner-operator of the Marconi Co., the wireless service that made those calls possible. Thank you very much.